I am excited for this one. Prospect Russell Westbrook, one of my all-time favorite players, and I know the all-time favorite players of a lot of people. He has very loyal stands, but I think his prospect case is really interesting. I had watched a little bit of Prospect Westbrook before. I did a Kevin Love prospect video a year or two ago that you should watch. That was really fun, but I didn't remember loving Westbrook. I definitely changed my scouting, approach and philosophies under continuing to value advantage creation, and I'm gonna break down Russ's prospect stuff, and I think it's fascinating. Let's talk about why he wasn't as good as maybe I thought he would be, but his development is crazy, and like, subscribe, comment would all be incredible. Westbrook always had the most absurd explosion and burst, and that led to some of the easiest advantage creation you'll ever see. Like, this defender is backing a couple feet off, two dribbles, explode into the lane. Nobody's even kind of coming close to contesting. Attacking off of the catch, like, he was a pretty solid off-ball player at UCLA. Wasn't crazy usage or anything, but he would, like, come off, attack off the catch, and even though, like, people aren't closing out to him, Westbrook's insane burst. He is able to hit and close gaps so ridiculously explosively. This play is totally crazy to me. Westbrook can't really finish there, but this defender is showing Westbrook his top foot. Usually, I've talked about it on this channel, ball handlers will attack the top foot, so the defender has to flip their hips and change directions rather than driving, to the direction they're sliding. Westbrook's like, fuck you. I'm going to go right by you because I'm Russell Westbrook and I'm the fastest man alive. That's really kind of how it goes. Excuse this footage. It's pretty disgusting. Westbrook wasn't a crazy advanced handler or anything, but when he got into these, like, double hang crosses and just these, like, delayed moves into explosive actions, he was so hard to stop because, right, he could just go left, right. He does a good job setting up this dribble handoff screen, like, go back, reject, explode, and ends up, I think, drawing a foul there. I can't understate the value of getting to the rim whenever you want, and we're going to talk more about this as the video goes on, but I think this was so crucial for Russ's development. Another play I absolutely loved. The one cut, like, crossovers, so deadly. This change of direction, the explosion on this move right here. Crazy how much force he moves with how quick he goes, and then he accelerates to top speed so fast. He's obviously a great jumper, like, super explosive player vertically, but Westbrook had a lot of problems as a young player. The handle was as bad as often as it was good. Like, he would just lose the ball, like, at the first sight of basically any pressure. Didn't take a lot for defenders to get into his handle and rip him or hope for him to do something kind of, dumb or uninspiring. And he's like, I talk about the importance of feel a ton on this channel, and Westbrook's didn't seem to be that incredible. Like, it wasn't terrible. Again, we're getting into it. Great cut there. His like off-ball feel was really nice. Westbrook was great at, like, slotting into these places to cut, and just because of how fast he was, he could literally get to wherever he wanted on the floor. He definitely wasn't always the smartest when it came to shot selection, as Russ would kind of just, like, drive into people and rely on his athleticism. Like, obviously can get past the first defender because he can get past anyone he wants, but that'll lead to Russ doing things like, missing open passes and taking bad shots, getting blocked. But my thesis, right, is the players who create elite advantages, who have access to these kind of plays, can improve on this because Westbrook will get this specific look, right, whenever he wants. And the more he sees it, the more he's going to get good at keeping his dribble alive, using his strength, passing it out, versus a player like, how are you going to improve as a passer, right? How are you going to find windows if no one's ever open? If everyone's playing one-on-one because you can't create any separation. And I think that's a key thing for Westbrook is, again, he tries to split this pick and roll. Great idea, and you can see how, like, explosive he can get, but just didn't have the ball control at that point in his career to execute these type of plays. Again, kind of just, like, goes up and gets blocked there. Westbrook had a lot of, like, the going downhill to the rim, and again, Kevin Love wide open on the other side of the floor. He had a ton of these missed reads. Westbrook really often, like, on the weak side, wasn't seeing those plays, and he wasn't hitting them the way that obviously he did in the league. And there were so many of these plays where he just didn't really seem like he knew what he was doing decision making wise. Westbrook gets in kind of wide open space, and he kind of hesitates a little bit, takes a really bad layup there. Just a lot of very questionable shots, not super efficient. A lot of like finishing technique stuff, right? He obviously could get downhill whenever he wanted, but almost like Scoot Henderson like in terms of this weakness, where he just wasn't picking the right footwork. He was the rhythm was off. There wasn't like any changes of pace at the rim. But the pure like tools and the ability to get there and create these ridiculous advantages were there. But Russ did flash some passing. I would say he was a pretty solid passer, better than his assist to turnover ratio, which like Russ again, 24 assists, okay, like good assist to turnover. I don't know why I thought it was bad. Like good assist to turnover ratio, but clearly had holes as a playmaker, right? But there was definitely good stuff too, as Russ was really great, like quick attack off the catch, collapse the defense with his burst, make a quick decision. That's when Russ was at his best, and I think it's underrated. Like Russ was a guy who got slandered a lot for not being able to do off-ball stuff, but he was good at it in college, and that's just, again, I think most even stars should be able to do this kind of off-ball stuff. But great, like I think no look here. It looks like Westbrook's kind of looking out to the sideline. Nice pass off of his driving gravity, which, of course, in the NBA would become his bread and butter, right? These passes off of his driving gravity. But it was very simple stuff in college. Nothing super advanced. Westbrook, like hop-stepping, pivoting, dropping it down to Kevin Love. It's simple plays. It's basic point guard stuff, or a play like this where Westbrook sees a hedge, crosses back over. I really like this kind of crossover to open this window, right? He's getting, or this is kind of a bad hedge. I don't really know what was going on there, but crossover to give himself an easier passing angle. Hits Kevin Love, who hits the floaters. It was like this cool, simple stuff. And this is when you saw the flashes of more high-level stuff, where Russ would collapse the defense, draw help, and make a good read. It's just so difficult to stop Russ from putting the defense in rotation, from forcing players to slide over to leave their initial assignments, that he's going to get so many passing ops to improve, like so many looks. And I think Russ had good enough feel. And then you go to look at his like, this is from his MVP season, how effortlessly Russell Westbrook was making plays off the dribble, using his gravity and laying it down to Sabonis there. He was like a crazy efficient, high volume playmaker, and this kind of technical stuff was just envisioned, was just not there. Tight window pocket pass with a little bit of pace here. Beautiful, beautiful play there. Westbrook was the king of like attacking an early offense, creating advantages, and dropping dimes off of that gravity. Westbrook, like, he was so decisive in early offense here, right? Hop step, pump fake, tight gap window bounce. Like, easy stuff. And Westbrook just did the easy stuff that he doesn't really do. Like, this is a play, like, on the play we saw, right? Maybe, where was the play where he left Kevin Love open on the wing? This one, right? Like, he has the drive, right? Open player, leaves Kevin Love open on the wing. And then we go down to, later in the NBA where it's, simple play. Has Jeremy Grant open top key and has the vision and the general know-how to actually hit him and make that play. Westbrook here, a funny stat quirk that I found, Westbrook, according to Synergy, Westbrook isolated 67 times in college, and he passed out of them 0 times. Now, that doesn't mean he never passed out of ISO, because Synergy only charts passes that led to shots or turnovers. But the fact that there's 0 pass attempts in that is kind of crazy. But Westbrook obviously became really deadly off of his isolations. Like, again, this is, to me, the best pass I've included in this video of the NBA sample. Tiny window here opens when the big steps up, and Westbrook threads the needle off the dribble. Really soft delivery. Adams is able to catch and finish. Like, this is a guy who had 50-plus assist rate seasons, and obviously was always kind of a high turnover guy, but like it didn't matter because he was getting this level of passing volume. And I think that I've talked a lot about how I think turnover rate is very overrated when it comes to prospects. Just beautiful behind the head passes. And yeah, it's really easy to make plays as a passer, right? When everyone is staring at you and no one's watching their man. It's like, yeah, Westbrook can just do whatever he wants. And I think that really contributed to his passing development in the league. And I'm honestly, I think it's kind of almost surprising development of how good of a passer he became. But the shooting, again, was questionable, right? There were a lot of times like he'd catch the ball in a spot up opportunity, and instead of going up or shooting, he's not even looking at the rim. He tries to do something off the dribble, turns the ball over, travels. He was like kind of willing to shoot, and he could hit these shots. Again, Westbrook was like 32%, pretty low volume, meh free throw. He was like okay off the dribble, I believe. But a guy like Westbrook, with his level of shot making in the mid range, that was a good indicator for translation. And because of how crazy of a driver and athlete Westbrook is, he never needed to be an elite shooter. Like, Westbrook wasn't a great shooter in the league. Like, his MVP season, you know, like, he got to 34%, like his highest season, but he was still an elite offensive engine despite this, because he improved as a mid-range shooter a lot. And his touch was never that great. Like, to me, like, we'll see some of the kind of plays in this where I don't think he's the greatest, like, these tough shots, but Westbrook's ability to decelerate on these pull-ups is crazy. Obviously so explosive. Look at this defender clapping against Westbrook. That's a bad idea. Explosive, hops, and look how low he is to get decel and change of direction and kind of contort his body in midair. This is against Brook Lopez, where he's going to just put him in the spin cycle here. These were the flashes of touch that Westbrook was able to build on. And I think, again, because he was able to get in positions to use his touch to elevate, he had such a high, like, release. He jumped so high on his jumpers that it helped him get open more than the average player. He liked his long twos for sure. Again, this was also a different era, right? 2008, 2009, like, three-point, people didn't shoot threes with the same kind of volume. Shot profiles were just different. And I think this kind of mid-range production, even though Westbrook could sometimes be reliant on this when he couldn't get to the rim, just like hop mid-range, even though it's a fairly open shot, he wasn't super good at it. The efficiency wasn't great, but I do think that it was some sort of indicator of future progress. And I'd love when Westbrook, like this, attacks decisively, makes a play, relocates out to the three-point line, ends up getting an open shot. I don't think he ends up making this one. Oh, yeah, but like, again, the touch is short. You can see the mechanics are kind of a mess. The elbow's flaring out. But I, again, like his willingness in some of these clips to play off the ball, to like take these open threes. And yeah, like, Westbrook wasn't a disaster shooter, but like, he wasn't going to ever be great, but he had enough to supplement his other stuff. And he was a really crafty scorer too. Great split here. Look how low. I can't believe Westbrook didn't fall over here, getting really low. And again, we see the hard plant to decelerate, step through, finish really strong. When Westbrook combined his incredible burst that we watched throughout this video with this kind of craft where he's using footwork and fakes and different timings, like, there's just absolutely nothing you can do. And I didn't know where to put, this is kind of a nice little last play. I didn't really have anything to say, but just like, he's so sick. But yeah, Prospect Westbrook was fascinating because he was just really flawed, and I think a prospect who, nowadays, if he came out, I probably would have been optimistic because, like, I liked Collier, right, who had turnover issues and feel stuff and can't really shoot and defense inconsistency. So I think these days I'd be high on Westbrook, but definitely not in my early scouting days, where I think the feel stuff is obviously important, the shooting stuff is obviously important, but when you have a special advantage creator like Westbrook, someone who can legitimately force a rotation on every single play, tire the defense out, make them play from behind, and then develop the passing to kind of really exploit that, as well as just being an explosive above the rim finisher, like, yeah, bet on the special traits, and Westbrook is a great example of that. Lots of flaws, but uber special elite traits, and those won out in the end.